Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hey guys, we're your hosts, Em and Jay, and today we're looking at the third episode of Season 4 of Netflix's She-Ra. I think the writers of the show don't exactly know when to reveal information, and they end up playing their hand too early, which was something that happens in this episode. It's kinda like how back in Season 2 when they were at the Northern Reach, they showed that there was a monster on the loose, but they showed it in its entirety way too early. That put a damper on the suspense of the episode, because we don't need to see the monster right now, just know that something's out there, and that it's dangerous. Except this episode's reveal ends up ruining the suspense for the season instead of just one episode. On top of that, the show is still having pacing problems, even this late into the show's run. This episode begins with Catra actually having nightmares about what she did to Entrapta and the planet. She wakes up only to find Emily staring at her. I'm kind of surprised Emily would approach her. She's the reason Entrapta's gone. But Catra panics and scratches her. It is good to see that she was affected on some level by those events, and she's apparently trying to suppress them, so she's doubling down on this behavior. That can only lead to problems. This is also the first time we've seen her without that mask, and I've gotta say I'm not crazy about her ears. I don't feel like they're in the right spot. It's like they're attached to her temples. They're not very cat-like. Later we see Hordak in his lab, looking over some bots that have been destroyed. He sees that the rebels have tampered with them, and he wonders if this is Entrapta's doing, before he's interrupted by Imp and what appears to be Catra. It's actually double trouble in disguise. You can tell because DT tends to talk with this wisp, and Catra doesn't usually do that. But the ruse is enough to trick Hordak, and he gets mad when Catra asks if he's tired of losing, and reminds him that Big Brother Horde Prime is on the way. He says even she should fear being so bold in his presence. Why? She's been ordering you around ever since she got back from the Crimson Waste, and she totally kicked your butt like 2 episodes ago. You're just a lackey now, Hordak. But the real Catra comes in and introduces Double Trouble as the Horde's newest asset. Hordak does admit that he's impressed, but he warns them not to deceive him again. But Catra's not fazed at all. She just glances at the jewel in his chest, basically reminding him of his place, and he just grunts and goes back to looking at the machines. Maybe Hordak should do something about that, instead of leaving an obvious weak point exposed on his chest. He then has to explain the same thing he told to DT, but to the real Catra this time. But he adds that the rebels' technological capabilities have gotten better since Entrapta went back to them, which does get a small reaction out of Catra. He says he'll keep working on the bots and they'll take back the city that the rebels freed that day, but Catra has other plans that involve Double Trouble. It then cuts to the rebellion. Adora, Bo, and Swiftwind are updating Glimmer on their progress. They tell her all about the battle they just fought. Personally, I would have preferred to actually see the battle instead of just seeing the aftermath and them telling us about it, but they tell her about how exciting it was and how everything went so well for them, like how the new technology that Bo developed worked like a charm. It also would have been cool to see Bo actually develop this technology, instead of just being told about it. We didn't even get to see it in action. Glimmer's disappointed that she wasn't able to be there. She's still very much acting the same way she did in the previous episode, disappointed that she can't join them on field missions and instead has to focus on her responsibilities as queen, but is happy that they'll all be coming back soon. But Adora and Bo hesitate because the mayor of the town they liberated wants to throw them a party in their honor, and they don't want to hurt her feelings. Swiftwind, on the other hand, has no filter, so he just blurts out that they're going to the party, and how much fun they're going to have. Remember when Swiftwind wasn't around back in Season 3? I miss those days. Sorry, it's just his personality is so obnoxious, and his animation is really janky. The two of them try to downplay the party for Glimmer's sake, but Glimmer insists that they go and enjoy themselves. It is nice that she's being supportive and actually staying where she is instead of popping over there to join them, like she did in the previous episode. But the three of them go to the party and find that it's much bigger than they were expecting, and it almost immediately goes to their heads. We're introduced to the people of Elderon. They're these insectoid butterfly people. The original Elderon was just a human village, but I actually like these designs. They're very cute and colorful. We're also introduced to their mayor. She's very grateful for their help, but she's also pretty skittish, worried that the festivities will draw attention to them. She tells us that they were initially going to have a small dinner, but when word got out that She-Ra was there, everybody came. I'm sure this won't lead to any consequences later, but this is also where we meet Flutterina, a new character to join the rebellion. She's also a reference to the original, but the butterfly motif is about where the similarities end, mostly because this Flutterina doesn't actually exist. This is what we were talking about at the beginning when we said this show doesn't quite know when to reveal things for suspense. It isn't revealed until the end of the episode, but it turns out Flutterina is actually Double Trouble in disguise, and apparently she's just a character that DT made up, which is confusing considering considering the fact that nobody at the party questions who she is or where she came from, but DT's infiltration of the rebellion ends up being a major plot point for the season. But instead of letting the audience discover things alongside the characters, it's revealed in episode 3. It could have been engaging to let the audience speculate, and a real betrayal when it's discovered that the little girl they thought was their friend is actually a cutthroat mercenary in disguise. So this feels like a missed opportunity. Not to mention, this plan seems unnecessary. Can't they just turn into a fly on the wall? Or impersonate a Bright Moon guard to get into the rebellion? Cause this is basically a waste of Flutterina's character. In the original cartoon, Flutterina was a young woman who was a servant to a tyrant baron. She tried to help She-Ra after she was captured by said baron, but was fatally wounded in the process. So She-Ra took her to Lighthope for help. Lighthope saves her life, and she's also transformed into a butterfly woman. She gains special powers, like being able to transform into a butterfly to spy on the Horde, and she can also summon other butterflies, along with creating gusts of wind with her wings. So I do like the idea of Flutterina being an infiltrator and a spy. It's just that she's not actually real here. But Flutterina fangirls over them, and DT's probably overacting, hyperventilating from shaking Adora's hand, and even going as far as to feign passing out from excitement. But since it's a party specifically in their honor, it's less conspicuous, and a lot of other people are fawning over them too. We then get a montage of the party. There's a She-Ra shaped cake, which Adora is ecstatic about, and they filled the Horde's cannons with confetti. But we spend quite a bit of screen time at this party. It would have been nice to see all the work they did that led to the celebration. Plus, this show could really use more action scenes. Instead, we get magic tricks and hair braiding. They're having a great time and they don't want to leave even though they promised Glimmer that they would be back soon. Adora's also happy that they're praising her She-Ra specifically, and not a She-Ra from thousands of years ago. But they're interrupted by the mayor, who tells them that a Horde bot's been spotted in the area. The mayor wants to evacuate, but Adora insists that the party shouldn't stop and she and Swiftwind can handle this. And she tells Bo to stay to look after the people and to have a good time. What could possibly go wrong? They find the bot and Swiftwind comments that it's bigger than what they usually fight, but Adora says it's nothing they can't handle. So she slices it in half, only for it to reform into 2 bots, kinda like a Hydra. They destroy the bots by using their sacred bonding magic, that thing where they glow. And then they head back to the party, only to find that the place is destroyed and everyone's gone. Oh no, what a shock. Who could have seen this coming? They do find Flutterina, who was the only one left, conveniently. Flutterina says that the Horde attacked right after she left, and Bo and the others were captured. So Adora puts 2 and 2 together and figures out it was a trap and she fell for it. Adora decides she needs to find them, but Flutterina asks if she can go too, even though she's not a rebellion fighter and she's small. And Adora agrees. Kind of irresponsible to take a small child into battle. Frost is a small child, but she has magic. And it seems like these butterfly people can't even fly, despite having wings and being able to move them, but they're never shown flying. It cuts to Bo, who's trapped in a Horde prison at their base, along with the villagers. They've been thrown in a giant pit, and Bo finds that his arrows are missing. The mayor explains that all their weapons were taken from them when they were locked up, and laments that they listened to She-Ra instead of evacuating the party. But Bo reassures everyone that She-Ra and Swiftwind are doing everything they can to find them, and also gives a speech inspiring everyone to keep moving forward even though they're trapped here. I actually like this scene. It's that classic moment when the chips are down and everything seems stacked against them, but they still come together to be resourceful and get out of that situation. Unfortunately, the moment is ruined when it cuts to Catra and Scorpia. Scorpia's excited for the 2 of them to be back on the field again, and that they're bonding over kidnapping people. Catra ignores her enthusiasm and dryly asks her about the weapons they confiscated, so Scorpia shows off the confetti cannons while giggling. But Catra isn't amused because she's a stick in the mud. She explains that she wants to set a trap for She-Ra, since she's sure she'll try to rescue the prisoners. Scorpia asks for more information so she can help with the plan, but Catra's going with the Admiral Holdo approach to leadership, where communication is overrated and they should just shut up and follow her orders. But Scorpia laments that ever since the whole portal thing, she's been feeling left out. Bringing up the portal causes Catra to snap at her, telling her to get over it, and she marches off, leaving Scorpia alone. I'm kind of surprised Scorpia is still acting this way, after everything that happened in the last couple of episodes last season. She watched Catra betray one of their closest friends, and saw the world fall apart because of Catra's actions. She was even erased from existence, and if it hadn't been for Adora and Queen Angela's sacrifice, she would be dead right now. But after all of that, the most she's upset about is feeling left out? Seriously? Better to feel left out than be stabbed in the back and shipped off to Beast Island. or be lost to the void. Plus, she's been pretty mean to her the last couple of episodes, but she's still pretty desperate for Catra's attention. I know we've asked this question before, but why is Scorpia so infatuated with Catra? They don't seem to have anything in common, and she doesn't exactly try to hide how toxic she is, but Scorpia's still ignoring all of this, and it's pretty baffling. Adora, Swiftwind, and Flutterina find the base, but it's being guarded, so Flutterina offers to distract them. That way Adora and Swiftwind can catch them off guard. The long-term plan is for DT to gain their trust as Flutterina, that way the Princess Alliance will let her join, and then DT can get information to the Horde. It does show that DT isn't against hurting other Horde members if it gets what they need. They find where the prisoners are being held and Adora transforms into She-Ra, but they end up walking into Catra's trap. They tell Flutterina to go and hide while they fight the bots, but they forgot that these bots regenerate, so they get caught off guard again. Meanwhile, Bo manages to free them from the holding cell because the Horde didn't search them well enough and he still had some tech on him. Catra doesn't notice because she's not watching them. She's too busy taunting Adora. But where did Scorpia go? She disappeared for some reason. We don't see her again until they go back to the Fright Zone later on. Did Catra send her away off screen? It's like the writers forgot she was here. But this time Adora doesn't want to listen to Catra's speech, saying that Catra hurt too many people when she set off that portal. Catra does look like she's upset about this, but she tries to turn it around on Adora, saying that she's the one who left the villagers unprotected, so she ends up hurting people too, which also hurts Adora. The one page they're both on is how to hurt each other. Catra activates the plate that She-Ra and Swiftwind are standing on, which shocks them, while Catra taunts them that their friends aren't there to save them now. Meanwhile, Bo and the butterfly people are escaping from the pit, although they're climbing out instead of flying. I'm not sure what the point of having wings is if they can't be used. Sorry, penguins and ostriches and chickens. The original Flutterina could fly. Bo comments to himself about how weird it is that there aren't any guards, but it's not enough to raise a red flag for him. Instead, he starts leading everyone to the obvious exit, which is wide open, which is also apparently not a red flag for him. He's been held by the Horde before, and even though the Horde is extremely incompetent, he should still know something's up. Although I'm still wondering what happened to Scorpia. She doesn't know about the plan with DT, but we don't even get a throwaway line for clarification. Flutterina comes rushing into the base and tells Bo that She-Ra needs help, so Catra's doing the whole villain spiel, taunting She-Ra only for Flutterina to hit her in the face with a rock. Catra tries to sick the robots on them, but Flutterina points out that they can use the confetti cannons to their advantage. Bo uses a trick shot from a toy arrow to set off the confetti cannons, and the confetti disrupts the robots' targeting systems. Then She-Ra and Swiftwind use their power of friendship's sacred bond to break out of the energy field and neutralize the robots. She also throws an energy blast at Catra. Unfortunately, she misses. And then she just lets Catra run off instead of pursuing her and trying to take her in. I really don't know why they keep doing that, but I guess if She-Ra did capture Catra, Bo would protest, and they might not have another spare bedroom to keep her in. But everyone celebrates, and She-Ra thanks them for their help. Flutterina asks if she can join the rebellion even though she's a child, and She-Ra says yes, which seems a bit reckless and irresponsible, but I guess that's in line with the rebellion. It has been a while since they've recruited anyone. Catra retreats to the Fright Zone, and Scorpia finally shows up again, but she says, "Catra, there you are. Scorpia, you're the one who was missing." She tells Catra not to worry about all that stuff with Adora, and that the two of them can handle anything, cause that's what friends do. She says she's sure Hordak will understand. I'm not sure where she got that from. But she goes too far by mentioning Entrapta, saying if she were here, but Catra cuts her off and snaps at her, telling her to stop badgering her and leave her alone. She then tells her to her face that they're not friends, which is something that Scorpia is clearly hurt by. Well, at least she's being honest. I feel like no one's ever on the same page in this series. It's clear that Entrapta is a sore spot for Catra, but Scorpia keeps bringing it up, and it's pretty clear that Catra doesn't really like Scorpia. She's almost never been nice to her, and usually when she was, it was because she was manipulating her. But Scorpia is so committed to this relationship, which is mostly in her head. You'd think she would have noticed that bringing up Entrapta is something Catra doesn't want to hear, but maybe she's also feeling guilty about letting Catra send Entrapta to Beast Island. Maybe she's hoping Catra will change her mind and bring her back, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Catra starts walking away but turns back to Scorpia, which makes Scorpia think she's going to apologize, but again, I wouldn't hold my breath. Instead, she warns Scorpia to keep Emily away from her or else she'll sell her for scrap, and Scorpia's left alone. It's weird how this episode forgot Scorpia was there until they wanted her and Catra to interact again. Back with our heroes, they're on their way to Bright Moon, but Bo notices that Adora's feeling down. He asks her what's wrong and she admits that she's feeling guilty. She left everyone alone at the party and that's how they got captured. She says she got so caught up in being treated like a hero that she forgot to act like one. I do appreciate this lesson, and I think it is important that characters remember this. Being a hero isn't about the praise, it's about helping others. Bo tries to reassure her by saying that the town is safe, and they got a new recruit for the rebellion. Sure, a little girl who doesn't have magic or fighting skills, can't fly, and is also a double agent. Back in the Fright Zone, Catra informs Hordak that their plan was a success, and that Double Trouble has infiltrated the rebellion. She gloats that those idiots won't know what hit them, as it's officially revealed that DT is Flutterina. I really feel like this was a mistake. The next few episodes revolve around the characters wondering why everything's going wrong, but there's no mystery for us. People like theorizing, but they took it all away by revealing things too early. This was also a really elaborate scheme to get DT into Bright Moon. Remember when Adora, Glimmer, and Bo disguised themselves as Horde soldiers? DT could have just shapeshifted into a guard, or been a fly on the wall, literally. Who would suspect that? The original Flutterina used butterflies as spies. This episode had some good moments, like seeing Catra's inner turmoil, and Bo and the butterfly people come together to escape their situation. It also had a good message at the end about what being a hero is, that it's important to put others first and not let the glory go to your head. But it was also pretty frustrating, especially when it comes to Flutterina. I think the Flutterina Double Trouble thing could have worked if it had been executed differently. Back in the first season, Light Hope showed us all the princesses of Etheria, and there are plenty of them that we haven't met yet. Maybe Flutterina could have been one of those princesses, and the Alliance was going to Elderon to recruit her. It's been a while since they've done that. So they go to recruit her, but it turns out Flutterina was already kidnapped by the Horde and replaced with Double Trouble. That way it could have felt more natural, and it would use already established plot points. It's disappointing that this is the route they chose to go down, considering the fact that there was a lot of potential and opportunity for interesting storytelling. Plus, Flutterina was a pretty cool character with an interesting story to tell, and it's disappointing that they didn't do anything with it. I also find the main characters' dynamics to be pretty frustrating. After all this time, Adora and Catra don't seem to understand each other at all, and now that's being seen with Scorpia too. For all this show's emphasis on interpersonal relationships, they don't seem to know each other at all. I was really hoping for more character development by now. Plus, the show is still emphasizing things that I don't think need that much attention. We spend quite a bit of screen time at the party, and that time could have been spent better, like on cool action set pieces, or character moments that lead to growth. But the show still has a pacing problem. But that's our opinion on the episode. What did you guys think? Do you like the whole Flutterina DT infiltration plan? Or would you have preferred a different plan like we would? We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, we really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like and subscribe to this channel to see more content like this. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Bye guys.